everyone. Welcome to Ad Age Remotely. I'm Janine Poggi, editor of Ad Age. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, I'm joined by David Cohen, CEO of the Interactive Advertising Bureau. As we approach the close of 2022, David is joining us today to make some predictions for the new year around things like the future of Web3, the rise of retail media networks, and the growing importance of attention metrics. Hey, David.
Hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Before we get started, for those of you watching, if you have questions or comments, feel free to leave them on our social channels and we will try to get to them during this conversation. So, David, you had the opportunity a few weeks ago to represent the ad industry during Elon Musk's Twitter Spaces session. A lot has happened. I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, though it feels like probably a month ago at this point or more. A lot has happened since then on the platform. At this point, how do you think brands can and should move forward on Twitter?
So thanks for that. Yeah, that was that was one thing that I will never forget. That whole experience was came together rather quickly and was amazing in terms of a number of folks that actually tuned into that and were engaged with that conversation. I would just start by saying that we're the IAB is an industry trade association. We're focused on the industry primarily, exclusively. Obviously, we don't focus on any individual member, but Twitter is a big player in the market and an important player in the market, and we're trying to be as helpful as we can be as they are kind of reimagining what Twitter can be in the marketplace. I would say that there's, we have a phrase that we say around here at the IAB, there's kind of mission and money. Are we doing this because of mission? Is this focused on kind of commercial interest? I would say it's clear that what has happened and what is happening is focused on mission, the desire to build a open town square forum for lots of diverse conversations to happen. I think that, as we have seen on other platforms, the money side of the equation is tricky. When you open it up to consumers, you have brands that are looking for clean, well-lit, scaled environments, and that sometimes is difficult to monitor at scale, at the scale that Twitter is. Requires technology, requires people. So I think that's the thing that is still being figured out. Honestly, I don't think that they've kind of cracked the code on that. I think they're focusing on mission first, and money will hopefully follow.
What are the outstanding questions then for the industry at this point? Like, there's a lot to still be figured out for sure. What are we waiting to see at this point?
Yeah. So I think that the idea around a content council that thinks about what is appropriate, what is inappropriate, what should be done about it, is still something I think that is still germinating, hasn't quite come to fruition. I think every brand needs to decide, is Twitter an environment that delivers benefit and value to them as an enterprise? Is Twitter connecting with consumers in a meaningful way? Is there a creative canvas that they can use? Is it driving the bottom line? Is it driving engagement? Is it driving sales? And the brand safety part of that, the suitability part of that, which is obviously important, but brands have a wide range of appetite for that. Everyone needs to make that call. I think that some of the decisions that have been made around letting the Twitter populace decide what happens with getting folks back on the platform or not, some brands are not happy about that, not content about that. And as such, I think they'll probably sit out until things become more well-defined. I imagine that will happen soon. I think we are already seeing that the new kind of leadership team was making some very, very quick snap decisions and now is being a little bit more labored and thoughtful before making those decisions. And that gives us hope. As I said on my Twitter Spaces with Elon, we're rooting for them. We want them to be successful. And this is not an easy thing that they're trying to fix or solve. And we're going to be as helpful as we can be.
Yeah, as you say, you want them to be successful. and it's an important platform for brands. But how are you thinking about what else is out there? What are the other opportunities and platforms maybe that are garnering attention right now, or that you're keeping an eye on as all of this is going on?
Yeah, there's absolutely no doubt that as marketers are making decisions around whether to press pause or pump the brakes, or they're going to other places. And there's lots of, one of the great things about the industry is there's lots of good, valuable places for brands and marketers to put their money. So I do think other platforms like TikTok, like Snap, like Meta are benefiting from some of the challenges with Twitter. I do think there is no other real-time kind of corollary to what Twitter brings to the audience, to the marketplace. There's obviously other things that are complementary, but there's no one quite like Twitter, and I think that there's something special about that. And while others have popped up, I know that you've probably seen everyone, I'm going from Twitter to this, or I'm going from Twitter to that. I still think there's a role for Twitter in today's ecosystem, and let's hope that they come to the market with something that the market wants.
Yeah. So, I mean, Twitter really is capping off a very active and a little bit of a crazy year in terms of the ad world. A lot going on, a lot of changes and a lot of disruption. I think perhaps maybe one of the biggest elements of disruption in 2022 has been the experimentation with Web3 and Web3 technology. What is the role of Web3 and the metaverse in marketing moving forward?
That's such a great question. I have the opportunity to talk to lots of folks in the industry across every side of the equation, and the reactions that you get when you say the word metaverse, some eye rolls, some, oh, this is the new shiny penny. Oh, you're just talking about Meta. Is this really something that we need to be focused on? Is everyone going to be walking around with virtual glasses? I think the reality is we believe that the metaverse, every indication would tell us that it will be a primarily commerce-driven platform. And we are seeing, we just released yesterday, actually, something that's called the metaverse for brands. It's kind of a help define what is the metaverse, help think about if you're trying to reach X audience, what are the things you need to think about, what are the questions you need to ask yourself. I believe we have over a dozen brands who have already activated in the metaverse. What have they learned? What success looks like? So what I don't think is the metaverse is not Meta. The metaverse is a 3D world that we have not yet realized at scale. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. We will not see it tomorrow in a scaled way, but in some point down the future, and we're already seeing indications of that. We look at the $150 billion gaming industry as a good indication of where we're moving. We look at Roblox. We look at kind of the number of people that are on platforms like that to say that it's not that far-fetched. And I think that our guidance to the market is don't stand by the sidelines. Just get in the game. Do something. Test, explore, try, learn, fail, move on from there. So I expect you would imagine that we'd be reasonably optimistic, and we are optimistic that this is going to be the next generation. We had browser-based web, we had mobile-based web. It's not outlandish to think this is the next iteration or generation of the internet for us. I know that as we're planning our annual leadership meeting in January, which is our kind of big event that we do every year, the metaverse will be one of the areas that we're going to focus on beyond the hype and all the kind of shiny penny object about it. It's what's practically and pragmatic. What should we be doing? So we've gotten a gentleman named Matthew Ball, who is he wrote a book which is largely believed to be the definitive guide to the metaverse as it currently stands. So I'm eager to see what he suggests the future looks like.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the commerce opportunities. What are you thinking for where the industry is now? Like, what needs to happen to sort of achieve that, and what the potential opportunities could be in commerce, especially because I think that's what everyone is waiting to see.
Well, I mean, you see many brands, whether they're luxury brands or brands that are focused on Gen Z, erecting kind of virtual storefronts. You look at kind of mobile goods today in the U.S. It's a $19 billion industry. So mobile virtual goods, that is, people that are buying things within Fortnite or Roblox or places like that. So it's a business today. There's no doubt about that. The question is, are consumers going to choose that as the de facto way that they shop? Is it a fad? Is it a real thing? Is it going to stick around? And it's, predicting the future, as you know, is a notoriously tricky business. But we believe, based on everything that we are hearing from the brands that are in the space, that there's there from a commerce perspective.
And yeah, we certainly have seen a lot of brands do these types of tests, whether it's the Roblox, Fortnite tests, virtual goods, things like that. But as we look at the general economic landscape moving forward, and I think the entire industry is preparing for, the tightening of the purse, how might that be impacted by an economic downturn? Will there still be an appetite to experiment in this way, amid what's going on with the economy?
It's a great question. We try to not speculate, but actually have data to support where the industry is going. So we do every year, and we did just recently a survey of the buy side, both brands and agencies, to ask them, where are they thinking that they're going to be budgets are going to go for 2023? What are the things that are changing relative to planning for the future, the number of times, the flexibility that's required, how often are they replanning? And we did some deep dives into retail media and into the metaverse. I think that there's some of this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think the longer that we tell ourselves that things are going to be tough, there's going to be some belt tightening, and things are, we need to kind of reduce and press pause and pump the brakes, we'll realize that vision. We were very surprised, based on everything that we are seeing kind of out in the press and the general belief in the market, that when you ask 220 brands and agencies, what is next year going to look like, the overall tenor is up nearly 6% versus this year, up 5.9%. Now, everything, as you can imagine, is not rosy. There are some channels that are going to be declining as per this survey. So linear television down, I'm just looking, 6.3%. Other traditional channels down 4%. But you have things like CTV was up, I think, 14%. So there's definitely glimmers of hope in the marketplace. And then the question I always get is, are we in a recession or aren't we in a recession? And obviously, I'm not an econometrician. I'm not an economist. And by the definition of a recession, you need to have 2 quarters of negative GDP growth, which we did have in Q1 and Q2. Q3 was modestly positive. So are we out of the recession? How long does it last? I think those are the things that we simply don't know. It's a long-winded way of answering your question. There was a time in my career when I was on the agency side when there was dedicated innovation budgets, test, learn, deploy budgets. I do think that those are fewer and far between. But the brands that actually do devote some money to testing and exploration, it's okay to fail. The idea is to learn. I do think that they have an opportunity to gain market share as the market continues to move.
I'm Janine Poggi, and I'm here with David Cohen, CEO of the IAB. You mentioned in the report with looking at the economy, retail media networks as well, another area of massive growth this year. What do you see as the state of retail media networks moving into 2023?
Yeah, if I look at our membership base, there is absolutely no doubt that retail media has been our greatest growth engine this year. And we're anticipating that will happen next year. I think that every retailer is coming to the realization that there is an opportunity to have a new revenue stream, a new value and service to their customers, and everyone's getting in the game. So we're very bullish on it. This year, I believe, north of $50 billion market, significant growth anticipated for next year. Of the research study that I just mentioned, we asked buyers, what's your expectation for spend for next year? And of those people that were in the game, are spending in retail media networks, it'll be up 28.4% next year. So that's, I think lots of folks would welcome 28.4% growth. So that's good. The benefits of retail media are obvious: closed loop reporting, ability to leverage their first party data. Note, you put a stimulus in market. What does it do for your cash register? How do you do on sales? That's obvious. The challenges, which are really the reason why the IAB exists, is everyone's doing their own thing. Everyone has their own version of what they're bringing to market, and interoperability from one to another is very limited. So we are the receptacle. I am the receptacle of lots of folks who are asking, could you help us standardize how retail media networks are going to the market so that we could plan in a similar way, create assets in a similar way, buy in a similar way? So we have a big focus on that in 2023. It'll be a big topic at ALM. I do think this is a huge growth area for next year.
Right. Well, I just want to say hi to those of you who are watching at home. We have Camille, Kataya, Bryson, and Jennifer. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them on our social channels and we will bring them into the conversation. So another area, hot topic this year, is, of course, measurement. Nielsen losing its MRC accreditation to some of the tests that are going on by the TV networks to experiment and adopt new forms of measurement. What do you think is the next phase in all of this? Are we headed into a multi-currency ecosystem?
So, without question. I think that's a fait accompli. I think the market has spoken, and while there was simplicity historically, a single currency that operated, there is the potential for chaos, which is what we're trying to avoid. So I do think that we're going from single currency to multi-currency. I think it's also important every time I have this conversation to kind of separate currency from measurement. They get conflated all the time. Measurement is ascribing a value. Currency is how are we counting what a buyer and seller is committing to deliver. And we're really focused on currency at the moment as we head into kind of, as you know and love, the fronts period, the upfronts, the new fronts, all that kind of stuff. As we head into that, as we head into a new video marketplace, can we come together and align on, let's say, 2 or 3 currencies, because there won't be one, that the industry can transact on? So that's our goal. And the feedback that we've gotten from the agency community is that while everyone likes to have their own different, better, and special kind of way of looking at this, there's probably 80% that we can all agree on. And let's leave the 20% for our proprietary advantage as we're out in pitches. So we're trying to just align on what is the 80%, and could we get to a marketplace that has 2 or 3 currency providers? Someone said this to me, which stuck with me. You know, as in the credit rating bureau, you have Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. You have 3 folks who are doing reasonably the same thing, and I think that's what's going to happen in this space. We're going to have 2 or 3 folks that will be determined to be kind of the de facto accepted currency in the industry.
I keep hearing the phrase attention metrics sort of floating out there and sort of weaving through this conversation. What is the role of attention in all of this? Is that measurable? Is that something that will be applied here moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, the opportunity to see, which has been kind of the foundation or the standard of how we've thought about delivery of ad impressions for decades, is being questioned. You know, so there are folks that go to the other end of the spectrum, and it's I want to be guaranteed on sales or sales surrogates. The idea of attention, understanding when someone their eyes are on screen, or they're not multitasking, or they're in the room. I mean, things that are, you know, we compare linear television, an example, very differently than we compare digital video. We have viewability in one, and we don't have that in the other. So there are some, certainly agencies and brands who are really leaning into attention. If you don't have attention, which is our most precious commodity, none of this other stuff matters. So we have, at ALM, we have a measurement leadership summit, which is going to be focused entirely on attention as a topic. It's called Undivided Attention, which I thought was quite clever, because right now there's lots of division on attention. What does that mean? One of the things that I think that IAB does well, and one of the things that I push for is just let's talk the same language. What's a definition of attention that we all, because everyone says it and it means the different things. Methodologies need to be understood and reconciled. So we're going to be spending a good bit of time in 2023 based on what we're hearing from the marketplace, that there is a desire to move from an opportunity to see to an attention metric. And we're very supportive of that. I think that we should try to look at the channels that we have at our disposal in a similar way. And I think attention gets us there.
We had a question or a comment, I guess, from a viewer about the future of linear TV, which I think is interesting. We're talking a lot here, obviously, about the digital nature, which is what you do. But, connected TV is rising. But as you pointed out from the report, linear TV, probably unsurprisingly, is down. But we don't spend really any time talking about like where linear is going. Is that something that the industry is just ignoring? It's still there. It's still a very large chunk of budgets and where dollars are going, but we don't talk about it. So
totally, yeah, totally right. And whoever that viewer is, thank you for calling it out. Because we still have a linear TV marketplace in the U.S. that's somewhere between $60 and $70 billion. So it's a huge opportunity for us to get right, improve, leverage it for everything that it can do, which it can do quite a lot. So we actually, IAB Tech Lab, who is a separate organization, but we work obviously very closely together, outlined their advanced TV roadmap at a recent event. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. And one of the things that Tony Katzer, who's the CEO of the Tech Lab, said specifically is we could just spend our time focused on CTV. We could just spend it on IP delivered television, but that would be neglecting or negating the value that linear television still brings to the market and the ability to bring data and technology to that space. So we are actually thinking about an all-inclusive look at video that includes linear channels for the Tech Lab's kind of roadmap. And obviously, Tech Lab is the technical standard setting body. IAB is the kind of business requirements side of the equation. So we're going to work very closely to not forget about the $60 or $70 billion of linear television. Let's use it for all the things that it's good at, live tune-ins, sports, events, and add an element of data to that equation that makes it useful.
And before I let you go, one other area of growing importance, you mentioned gaming, and I think inside of that, the world of gaming and gamers and social influencers is incredibly important for brands. I don't think we could go a day here without seeing some sort of TikTok brand integration. How are you looking at the creator economy right now and sort of analyzing that?
On every dimension, whether it is consumer time, where advertisers are placing their dollars, where investments are being spent, where are production dollars going, the creator economy is eating Hollywood for lunch. There's no doubt about that. And we're trying to kind of understand what are the dynamics. And you can see many of the big established Hollywood players are also dabbling in the creator economy because that is it's a huge part of the market. Creators are branching out, offshoots, setting up restaurants, coming out with branded merchandise. I mean, it's absolutely crazy what's happening in that space. And there is absolutely no doubt in our mind that the future of entertainment will have creators at the core of it. Now, that's not to say there isn't a role for professionally produced Hollywood content, but it's all about kind of an amount of emphasis that is placed on that. I think we have relied upon premium content for a very, very long time, and premium has been associated with Hollywood and big budgets. And in a consumer's mind, just to use grandma research, my 2 kids, 18 and 20-year-old girls, couldn't care less if it's produced by Hollywood or produced by one of the creators that they follow. So, and I do think that is a sign of the future that we're moving towards.
David, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Appreciate you being here with us.
Great to see you, Jeannie.
Be sure to tune into our upcoming episodes of Remotely. You can find out more at adage.com/remotely. And as always, thank you to our Ad Age crew, Lauren Ciardio, Arabella Breck, and Anna Sakula for making this live stream happen. Thanks for tuning in.